What is something that instantly killed a crush that you had on someone? He kept licking my teeth when we kissed and he had horrible breath. I even tried kissing him on another date and yeah, I just gave up. I even gave him gum the second time. But the teeth licking thing just weirded me out. And he called me mama. No, this isn't Saved by the Bell. And he was not AC Slater. He ended up being gayer than a San Francisco production of Rent. In high school, senior year, I had been flirting with this girl from the first day of the school year. She had a boyfriend, so it never amounted to much more than that until just after winter break. I found out that they had broken up, so I ramped up the flirting and gave it a couple of weeks until I'd make my move. We had period 7 and amp 8 together and I waited for a Friday to do it. I was anticipating seeing her all day. Suddenly, period 4, there she is walking towards me down the hall. It was a bathroom break for me and I assumed her too. She didn't seem well though. I said, "Hey Amy, how's it going?" Her response, "Not good. I think I just miscarried in the bathroom. I gotta go home." And that was that. She told me who she had a crush on. Oh, back in middle school in England, while my Crohn's was quite bad, I suffered from aplastic anemia. I think it was that, or something very similar brought on by the drugs I was on. I was on a list for a marrow transplant in case things went tits up. Basically, I had no bone marrow and couldn't participate in play or run or jump or anything other than walk softly. Anyway, I was a small kid and an easy pick for bullies. A gaggle of bullies picked me up, ready to throw me in a trash can. Thankfully, someone was aware of my condition. After blurting out a warning, they gracefully dropped me face first into the pavement instead. Kinda lucky it wasn't the can. If that happened, might have broken some bones my spine. I'm laying there humiliated, people laughing at me, and I look up and I see my crush, a sweet looking American girl, laughing and pointing too. No longer a sweet girl, no longer my crush from that point. Duck you Ashley, you whore. I don't even remember your name, I think that was it. Itch. Compulsory edits to thank for gold, and to also explain that I am an Englishman, born and raised, whose mother married to an American airman while I was in high school. I now live in the States, and have done for years. My vocabulary has changed since then, which should hopefully explain the confusion. Edit 2. Fixed words. He tried to kill me, I'm pretty sure, on our first date. To make a long story short, we decided to take the metro. Everything was fine. We were talking, and every now and then we would slowly walking along that side area next to the track. We weren't super close to it or anything though. Of course, eventually the train is arriving. While I was looking directly at him, he reaches out and pushes me toward the tracks. Just a straight up push. So of course I stumble. Thankfully the push was not so hard, and there was just enough distance that I had time to slow down and did not fall in. However, I was holding my phone in my hand, so that flew out of my hand and got ran over by the train. He immediately starts saying, oh, I'm sorry I tripped. You did not trip, you duck. You were just standing there and randomly shoved me. I was looking at you. The only reason why I didn't try to have him arrested or anything was because I was naive back then. And after an argument over whether he did it or not, he gave me the money to replace my phone, so I called it even. Needless to say though, I had absolutely nothing to do with him after that. TLDR, he tried to push me down into the metro tracks. I ask them out and it's a clear and immediate no. It's a load off my mind when that happens. Actually, the time that he got all of his friends to lure me to this one hallway near the back of the school, so he could throw a paper bag with a dead squirrel in it at me. Or there was the other time where another dude found out I liked him, and then pretended to like me for a couple weeks, leading me on, and then made sure I was around a bunch of his friends and other classmates, when he loudly exclaimed that he couldn't believe I thought he was serious, that I was ugly and he'd never like me, and everyone laughed at me. This was middle school. Kids are assholes. Edit. Just randomly looked for them both on FB. Found out the first guy died. Apparently. Now I feel bad. Went on a dinner date with a guy I'd been eyeing for years. He was extremely rude to the waitress. Even decided not to tip her because she brought our cutlery out after the meal and it was busy. He also tried to sleep with me that night and tried to guilt me into it by insulting me when I said no. Terrible date. Ugh. Following him home and seeing 2 pairs of brown streaked undies on the living room floor. He may have thought I was just a tease when I left promptly, but I really did not want to see the state of his bed linen after that intro. Edit. Great. Now my top comment is about brown streaked undies. He pretended to have cancer for sympathy reasons. He spat on me. Kindergarten was a weird time. In middle school I was all about wearing cool socks, but since I usually wore pants no one ever saw them. My crush and I were both in chorus and our group had a concert coming up, and we had a very strict dress code for these events. I decided to wear a black skirt and my fave frog socks. They barely peeked out of my shoes. In our lineup he was pretty close behind me, which I thought was great until I heard him and a friend of his laughing about my awesome socks. A crush since 3rd grade ended just like that. Duck him. Those socks ruled. She's cute. She's smart. She's funny. And as soon as she gets tired or hungry she begins to whine constantly in the manner of a 5-year-old girl. We are at this very moment walking to the shop to buy some food. You whinging and whining and making a big scene about how hungry you are is not going to help even a tiny bit. Her. OMG I love Chris Brown. Me. He beat the crap out of Rihanna though. Her. Yeah. But he's hot. She sat on the toilets to take a dump while I was having a shower. The hot steam didn't help with the smell either. Modern day Seinfeld episodes. While he was driving me home from a date, a squirrel ran across the road and he swerved to try to hit it. He missed and said damn with a laugh. But I found the immaturity desire to kill an animal, even a dumb squirrel, very off-putting and didn't go out with him again. I learned they were my cousin. Small towns suck. I found out that she was my half-sister. Long story, but if this doesn't get buried I'll tell it. These days, nothing. I'm not exactly in a position to be overly picky. He had a Winnie the Pooh themed bedroom. Frequently posting selfies to FB. It's even worse if she captions them with something irrelevant. That constant need for attention validation screams insecurity and self-obsession to me, and it's a major turn off. He seriously liked Insane Clown Posse. I was like, the way she types on Facebook, Instagram. He started talking way too sexual whenever I finally got introduced to him. I don't like dogs. Why? Were you or a family member bitten growing up? Are you scared? No. They are just loud and I don't like them. Oh that's too bad. Because my roommate and best friend happens to be a 95 pounds, drooling, hairy mess made out of love. They were a vegan and prick about vegan. Couldn't eat anything without a 20-minute speech on my murderous ways. That's a deal breaker. PE soccer. I kicked the ball to the other team by accident and he called me a stupid itch. Instead uncrush. This is weird but the sound of their voice. I had a huge crush on this guy in my physics class. Then one day, 5 weeks into the semester, I'm incredibly shy so it took a while for me to talk to him. I felt a burst of confidence and sat next to him. I started talking to him and when he first responded, my crush on him disappeared instantly, which sucked. The sound of his voice was just and I wanted him to stop talking. He spoke intelligently and we had a lot in common but his voice was unpleasant. Edit. Fixed to unpleasant since people were being sensitive. She tried to get me to go to a Mormon church. She was cute, but she shouldn't want to date me to convert me. Everyone seems to be posting about glaring personality flaws, so I guess I will be the first to put a shallow comment down. Her voice. She seems like a great girl, pretty, smart, whatever else but goddamn her voice is nails on a chalkboard to me and I can't get past it. He turned out to be ducking crazy, as in scaling walls to peep in girls' windows and hanging pictures of dead bodies in random public places. I'm gay so it's already difficult meeting guys like me, let alone ones I like. Anyways, met this very attractive guy at Pride once and we started to talk. After a few days we decided to meet up again downtown and everything was going fine until we saw an interracial couple and this guy's face twisted into a grimace. He then spent the next 5 minutes telling me how interracial dating is wrong but only for straight couples. I'm black and he was white. I noped out of there quick, fast and in a hurry. Smoking. It's killed more crushes than people. She had a huge rebel flag in her room. Asks if she was a Dukes of Hazzard fan trying to lighten the mood and she said not really. I just hate N. In total Family Guy fashion I threw up my hands. Said I'm done and never saw her again. Having a relationship with her. She went off on some regular worker. I had one of those bus crushes. Where you run into the same person every day and say hi. Nothing more than that. Then one day she exploded on a bus worker because the bus was late. That's when I knew we could never be together. I've since found a new bus crush and we're very happy together. B22. Hadn't seen her since I was 14. She turned out ducking hot. Told me that she compared every guy she had ever been with to how she thought being with me would be like. Was also a cam girl. Was also engaged 6 times over the last 5 years. All to different dudes. Despite all of that adding up to one giant ducking red flag. I was till DTF. I'm super nerdy. Plan a date to a museum and restaurants downtown. Get pumped about getting to hook up with this insanely hot girl I used to go to school with. She texts and bails last minute saying her uncle had a heart attack. Turns out she was actually partying with her girlfriends. I was willing to put up with all kinds of crazy. But somehow that was what killed it for me. I lost my it on her and she told me if I was gonna be a D we could forget about hooking up ever. She later texted me and told me the emotional devastation of our falling out was what caused her to drop out of her college program. That she was only 3 months into. Think she ended up traveling while trying to become some sort of trendy blogger. Dunno where she's at now. Man, I must be all sorts of ducked up myself if I attract that kind of crazy. She likes raping other women. L. At some point she even told me she wanted to become a tentacle monster. Hearing her talk crap about a good friend of mine. Literally seconds before we were about to have a sex for the first time, Buddy bragged about tying a black man to the back of his truck and driving through the woods in rural New Brunswick. Jumped out of bed, scoured my body with bleach and steel wool to scrub off the sick and the head cuties. Told him he was sick. Closed the legs forevermore. I don't think he actually did it. I think he was moronically bragging to look like a big strong man. But hell if I still don't gag at the thought of it. 15 years after the fact. I was 14 or 15, in 9th grade. There was a guy in my school that I had a crush on, and we rode the bus together. I considered him a friend, and we would call each other on the phone and talk for hours, and listen to Nirvana and analyze the songs from Bleach and Nevermind together on the phone lol. We had so much in common, and I really enjoyed being around him and talking to him. Well, after a few months of these long talks, I developed feelings for this guy and told him. He said he just wanted to be friends, and I was fine with that, while always having a crush on him in the back of my mind. Unfortunately after I shared my feelings for him he became distant and more like an acquaintance and stopped calling me. He also started acting like an arsehole to me around his friends. I told myself I must have just freaked him out, and held out small hope that we would once be close again. Even if not romantically involved. Then, one day on the bus, he asked me out in front of all of his and my friends. And I was like, really? I, stupidly, was taken aback by his sudden change of heart. The moment he saw the look of joy on my face, he started laughing, and then said April Fools. It was April Fool's Day and I didn't realize it. I was mortified, and I'd say the crush was killed. I told him that I enjoyed working with animals and I had been showing in fairs for a few years and he said that was gross and he paid people to do it like that. And it's gone. Not a crush that I had, but one time while sitting with a friend of mine at a lunch table I overheard a few girls swooning amongst themselves about how cute my friend was. He didn't notice them at all and got up to throw his food away. While he was at the garbage, he noticed a half-eaten apple sitting on top. He picked it up, took a few bites, and threw the rest away. I heard the girls' conversation go instantly from he's so cute to oh never mind. Had a crush on a guy in one of my lecture classes until one day he sat next to me, pulled out a egg salad sandwich, and loudly smacked as he slowly ate it. I was so relieved when he finished, but then he pulled out a second sandwich. Casually littered a wadded up sandwich wrapper over her shoulder on the metro, while not more than 10 feet from the trash recycling bins. She didn't like donuts. He was in the Navy and was overseas in Bahrain. SP. We had been talking for years. I was ridiculously into him. In hindsight, he didn't like me as much as I liked him. But I never would have thought he'd do something so awful. I was getting ready for work, and his best friend called me and was really serious. He never called me before, so I was immediately concerned. He said that my crush was shot and was in a hospital in Germany, in critical condition. This was a very elaborate story with a lot of details. I was immediately inconsolable. I couldn't breathe. I was sobbing while trying to get ready for work. I had to have my roommate drive me because I couldn't stop crying. When I got to work, the manager asked what was wrong. When I told her, she sent me home. As soon as I got home, I called his mom to express my sympathy and she was shocked. He hadn't heard about this at all. So long story short, it was a lie. He was on three-way call when his friend called me. He wanted to see my reaction if I thought he was dying. He thought it was hilarious. And that was the end of that. She was 18, but when she got a little bit of ice cream on her iPhone she bawled like a freaking baby. Streams of tears. And that was in front of a group of 5 friends. Her phone was perfectly fine, but she just kept crying for 5 minutes. Didn't matter how hot she was after that. He said he didn't read, then laughed at me for enjoying comics. I was trying to find something that he might like to read, and he was wearing a Batman shirt. Yeah, that underwear is not coming off you, sir. She started doing meth. Out of there faster than a roadrunner on trucker pills. She was racist. Like, really racist. When I made a reference to chamomile tea and she corrected me by saying, "Don't you mean chamomile? Oh acute, acute, oh acute, acute." I initially volunteered to help make supper for her and her mother. Ended up making all of it while they ducked around. Come time to actually eat, some other dude showed up at the front door and apparently had a date planned with this girl. Needless to say I left her blowing a guy in my bathroom on my birthday. I was joking around and put on a heavy French Canadian accent. She went off on a tirade. Ducking frogs should go back to ducking France. I was born and lived in Quebec for 20 years. Had a crush on this girl for years ever since I was really little, like kindergarten. I left the school and then ran into her a couple years later while I was in high school. We would see each other constantly because of my job and started hanging out. One day we were watching a movie or something and it starts happening. We start making out pretty hardcore and she's really into it. All of a sudden, she gets on top of me and gets really rough. Starts kissing me some more and then knees me in the balls really hard and tries to dominate me or something. Went from duck yeah to duck no in about 10 seconds flat. Never saw her again. He called me drunk and asked if he could come over. He ended up bringing a girl with him without informing me first and ducking her in my shower. When I walked into the bathroom to check if they had drowned, water had flooded over the tub and was all over the floor soaking their clothing. The next day when they woke up she was missing her wallet and he accused me of stealing it. So I was sort of seeing this girl, let's call her Sarah, in college. But every time we hooked up something just didn't feel right. The moment things started getting heavy, it was like a switch would suddenly get flipped and I would start to feel physically ill. I'd usually make up some excuse as to why I had to leave and then bolt, leaving her totally speechless. This occurred numerous times over the span of a couple months and I could never quite figure out what it was until that winter when I went home for Christmas. My family was sitting in the living room enjoying some quality time when I notice a familiar odor. It was Sarah. No doubt about it. I look around the room and I see my sister applying this lotion to the backs of her hands. Turns out Sarah used the same hand lotion my sister had been using for years and I had come to mentally associate the smell with my little sis. Needless to say, things didn't work out. Found out she has a psychic. Not that she has been to a psychic, but she has one. Like it's a regular thing. I know I'm late but I'd still like to contribute. This girl I worked with cute, funny, my sense of humor, etc. once asked for a ride home and I agreed to since we lived pretty close to each other. On the way to her place we're making small talk and she asks, so what do you like to do in the weekends? I respond that I mostly play video games, but when my brother is here I like to go out to eat with him. So of course I ask, how about you? This is what the conversation went like. She responded, get high. No, seriously. What else? Nothing. Just get high. Not even watch TV or go out? No. I sit in my garage and smoke. Okay. What about when you're done? I'm never done. Oh, okay. Wanna get high? No thank you. TLDR. Apparently she spent every single waking minute of the weekend only smoking weed. Nothing else.